Hello, everybody. My name is Adam Weissler. I am a music reporter for the TV show Extra, and also a member of the Recording Academy, and love being here today with you guys at NAMM and Sony. Those of you watching at home and those of you here, this is going to be a fun panel. I'm going to let each of you introduce yourselves and briefly, and then we'll take it from there.
Hey everyone, my name is Chris. I work at SoundCloud. I'm a senior manager of global music programs, so I lead execution on all of our artist marketing campaigns.
Hi everyone, my name is Lasha. I'm an artist, music producer, DJ, performer, and I go by Nitepunk. Yeah, that's it.
I'm Ross Caravati. I work at Sony Corporation of America on the brand and business development team, and I work on content development and creator engagement.
All right. Hi everyone, I'm Chris, also, two Chris's. I'm from SoundCloud. I'm the director of our artist development and all things artist discovery. So I've been doing this for about 15 years, been at SoundCloud for about 3 of those. I came up in the A&R space, mainly working with deadmau5, Duke Dumont, Frank Ocean, Calvin Harris, lots of dance music, and then came over to SoundCloud to really lead all things artist focused. So that's me.
Very cool. And as this panel is all about the special First on SoundCloud campaign, we're going to start with a little video to get everyone up to speed, and then we'll take it from there. So let's.
I always read all my comments. I can't help myself. I read them all, so now I have like a purpose for this.
I was just like, yo, I need something new. I need something fresh. So I just started recording music. I think when people see that you're uploading regularly, that's when people start to really appreciate what you do. And when the music gets better, you can't lose. My music is already changing. Like, you compare the music I was making like a year ago till now, it's completely different. Sony products and electronics have helped me to just create more.
I learned this system and was like, this is my path. The code inspires it a lot. This kind of like organized electronic structure. I just like to tap into like what the people are responding to. Like, immediately put my mix up on SoundCloud. It was just like a helpful way for me to just get things going. With SoundCloud, like, I didn't have to know, and I was just able to like share my music.
This is crazy. I was just literally just sat there like refreshing a page. It was nuts. That was very cool. That was a very cool moment to have. By the experiences I'm having in my life at the moment. SoundCloud has been so instrumental in me getting my music out as an independent artist.
My creative process, once I step in the studio, once I find the beat, I hum my melody on the track, and then I'll just plug in the lyrics. The messages and the emotions I hope my listeners take from my music would be to never give up, to stand on 10 toes, but also be consistent. Just this whole experience with Sony, they have perfect sound, perfect audio. I can hear everything clearly when I'm recording. The Sony electronics and audio products help me fuel my creativity.
You know, I can shape it and I can see it visually change, pretty much building the entire world. There's definitely so many episodes that kind of triggered my love for music. SoundCloud was like the only place where I could really find all this music. All your efforts have to go into making it a special experience. The Sony and SoundCloud program is honestly really exciting.
It feels really exciting to be on the Sony SoundCloud program.
To be on the Sony SoundCloud program is amazing. It's a blessing.
So cool, so cool. And Nitepunk is right here. Very exciting, along with this great panel. So let's just start with talking about SoundCloud, Chris. If you, just for people that don't know, and I'm sure most people involved in the NAMM world do, but if you can just give a really brief introduction as to what SoundCloud is, even before this campaign.
Is on? Okay, cool. There we go. There we go. So SoundCloud is an audio streaming platform. It has over 300 million tracks, and it's a place that really fosters creativity across DJs, producers, artists. You're kind of able to upload your tracks and have your music be heard by hundreds, thousands, millions of people, and it's a place that really just fosters community and creativity.
It's really about artists and creators and expanding that community. And Chris is someone who's worked with artists as well. If you can talk about, just briefly at first, the importance of artists to you and the importance of artists to SoundCloud.
Yeah, I mean, of course. Like, I think the most unique thing about SoundCloud is the entry point you can come into it. Artists like, I think artists like Nitepunk, artists like every artist, people look at like their main SoundCloud page, but they don't consider all the ways they use SoundCloud before that. I guarantee Nitepunk had other SoundCloud pages where he was uploading music very early before he even became Nitepunk, sending out private links and getting feedback. That's the really passionate thing about SoundCloud, is that it's this very early creativity incubation to not just like become an artist and find your fans, but become the artist you're meant to be. It allows you to do that. You can't do that on other DSPs. You can't go and do you can't play the algorithm on other sides. So we just love it's the very first point that artists can start with us, and that's why we're really passionate about programs like First on SoundCloud, because they're hugely important. That first step an artist takes, and if that's with us, it's why I get out of bed in the morning, and hopefully everyone else on this panel,
Very exciting. And Nitepunk, how true is that? Talk about your very first time on SoundCloud.
Yeah, so I obviously started, like, SoundCloud was the first place ever that I started putting my music on, and before I actually saw like the real power of SoundCloud, and like literally when the song kind of took off, I was uploading music for years, since I was 14, and there was like one moment I was already living in New York, and I was working with these people who would always kind of like press me to like shape my sound or like do music this way or that way. It was like they wanted to be managers, but it was not the healthiest relationship. And there was one moment when I did a song the way I wanted. I was like really fed up with their feedback and everything. I was like, I'm not even gonna show it to them. I'm just gonna like put it up on SoundCloud, and literally blew up through reposts. And it was just crazy to see, because like now all the big names I used to look up to were reposting my song, and people just started to know who I was. And that was just like the whole power and miracle behind SoundCloud.
What an amazing story and amazing platform, yeah. And Ross, your first experience with SoundCloud as someone with Sony, what was Sony's first excitement about SoundCloud?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big SoundCloud fan myself as a listener, but I think, being a part of the Sony Pro Audio team and being involved in creator engagement, understanding Sony's mission, which has always been for the music, obviously, and for the creators first. And really what that means is, as a audio technology company at our roots, everything we do has always been for the creator community, and then for the consumer, right? An end-to-end journey. And so we want to be there to support artists and creators of all levels throughout all stages of their career. And I think, when it comes to SoundCloud, that's exactly what they do. So the synergy was really just natural. And I think it was just a matter of us, finding how we can come together to support the creator community, both through the SoundCloud platform and through the value that Sony could offer.
Very cool. And Chris, tell me about this First on SoundCloud program, how this started originally and the initial excitement over it, how and why it began.
Yeah, so First on SoundCloud originally launched in 2018, so it's one of our longest standing artist marketing programs. I think you've heard the excitement around SoundCloud overall, and how it really is a place that fosters artists and creativity. And artists like Billie Eilish, Post Malone started on SoundCloud. And even first on SoundCloud alums, we've had Kehlani and Peggy Gou and really incredible artists, and no shortage of incredible talent uploading to SoundCloud. So first on SoundCloud is really like a celebration of that. It's really our way to kind of work with those artists in tandem and provide opportunities and resources and mentorship and guidance to help them along their creative journeys. And is my favorite campaign that I get to work on at SoundCloud by far.
And Chris, if you don't passing it down to him, how has it grown even before Sony's involvement this past year? Talk about each year and how it's expanded.
Yeah, I mean, look, because it's a 2018 program and it's been core to what we've done, it's taken on a lot of iterations. It looked very different this year to what it looked like 4 years ago, and for good reason, because we've learned from our mistakes and we've learned from our wins at the same time. So we really, in the last year and a half and in the iterations coming up, we really wanted to focus on that artist discovery element of it. If you don't know a name in the first on SoundCloud category, good, because we lead what's next in music. We're not just sticking our name next to someone who's on the come up and trying to take the glory for it. We are doing the work at what I would call the trenches right at the beginning, and I think that's incredibly important. So first on SoundCloud last year, and as it grows into this year, is much more about development, and not just development of, hey, we're going to boost up your SoundCloud streams, of, hey, this is how to maneuver in the industry. This is how to collaborate with other artists. We really try and add mentorship to it and an experience to it, so that it's not just fluffed up stats at the end of the day. So I think that's where it's really going in the future as well. I'm very excited about that next iteration of it.
And you come from that world, so what are you looking for? You said doing the work. What are you looking for day to day, month to month, when you're looking at artists from all genres? Yeah,
great. I mean, look, I'll use a bit of a metaphor because I'm the king of doing that. We're sat in a Ferrari. SoundCloud is the biggest A&R tool for me. Because of the entry level being so low. You're not having to deliver and wait 30 days to Spotify or any of these things. So you can have artists being right there in the beginning of it. And just, I think because we're sat in that Ferrari, we have a lot of data. We can see the matrix behind the scenes for lack of a better idea. And we get to have that data guide us, but at the end of the day, it is about the music, and it is about trusting your gut with the music. So when we were we looked at a lot of artists for last year's program, a lot more than we were expecting. And you can look at the data, you can look at they've done this on streams on platform, they've commented, they've engaged, etc. But is the music dope? Are you attached to the music? I've watched Nitepunk come up for 4 or 5 years before he was even in this program because the music was dope. I think, secondly as well, we're looking for a SoundCloud story. Now, I might steal your story slightly here, so I apologize, but when Lasher was a very early artist, he had a job delivering pizzas, and he would write his SoundCloud link on the pizza box. If that's not the coolest shit I've ever heard, that's what SoundCloud is. That's what SoundCloud is. So it's really, I'm getting carried away now because this is an area I love, but it really is just about discovery and finding and helping the right artists, and we're putting in work to improve that constantly. And that first step on the ladder onto your career, that's where we are.
And Lasha, you knew the importance of that then. Obviously, if you're putting in that time to be delivering pizzas and pushing your name through SoundCloud, you knew that was going to help you. So talk about those years or those months.
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty much I was obviously very passionate about music, and I really wanted it to make it work for me. And I would just work on the song, upload it on SoundCloud and as a private link, and then just do the pizza delivery. And I would have all the demos and everything just in my earphones, just listening as I was doing. And then I was just so lost in that world, making music, uploading demos, making music, uploading demos. That was my little world. And I knew that before I even knew how to release a song officially, really brand everything and all that stuff, SoundCloud was a world. around what I was doing, and like that was a place to make friends. That was a place to find new music, find out about a whole new genres of music that didn't even make it even on the surface of the internet. So yeah, it was really cool, and like that was my like a business card, like SoundCloud and Nitepunk. So I was just like writing the links on on the boxes. Almost got myself fired, but yeah, that's what I did.
It all's working out for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we'll have Ross talk about the Sony's involvement in 1 second, but just when you first heard about this program and what excited you about this, how did you first hear about First on SoundCloud after being with SoundCloud for a while?
My manager Sasha, they're great friends, and I remember Sasha just mentioning it, and pretty much like we were waiting. As I know, Nitepunk was in between so many names, and when they decided to go with us, obviously that was so exciting for me. First of all, kind of beyond belief, because as I know, like that's where I started since I was like 14, and that was just like my thing, like SoundCloud, the music, the type of music I'm making, just like that's where it really emerged from. So yeah, it was beyond exciting for me, and I just had ideas right away, the how I wanted to move with SoundCloud, and if anything, I'm beyond honored, to have a recognition from people like this, and yeah.
Very cool. Now the Sony partnership has taken this to a whole different level this past year, and it's made it bigger for them, bigger for you guys. What was it about First on SoundCloud that excited you and made Sony want to be part of it?
Yeah, as I said earlier, that the synergy was natural between the two entities, and the focus on the creator and the music, really. So I think for us, it was, seeing that opportunity and figuring out how we could integrate and partner with SoundCloud and with these artists to provide value through that program, right? And at the end of the day, it is SoundCloud's Artist Accelerator program. And from the Sony audio side, we're a technology company. So it was taking a look and speaking with individuals like Chris, meeting the artists and figuring out, what value can we provide to these individuals throughout this program, whether that's educational opportunities, networking events, product demonstrations, product seeding, providing Sony's amazing audio technologies to these artists. So, in hopes that they'll use them throughout their creative process, and I think that is always been one of Sony's goals, which is to develop better and better audio tools to allow creators of all levels and all stages of their career to do what they do best, which is make music or create audio. So we integrated in a couple different ways. We provided all these artists with some various headphones and microphones. Some educational opportunities, some workshops around mixing, some introductions into immersive audio, specifically Sony's 360 reality audio format. But invited them out to Los Angeles. We even brought them out to the annual Sony Condo Retreat, which was in Salt Lake City, Utah, this past year. And one of my favorite aspects actually was, when I learned about this program, and Milo told us that they were looking to have these artists kind of document their experience, their journey over the course of the 6 months. We wanted to help support that. So we worked with the Sony imaging side to help provide cameras to these artists and to the SoundCloud team so that they could document that. And that's, some of the footage that you saw up earlier.
Very, very cool, and the stuff looks great. And Chris, talk about having Sony as a partner, what that's meant this past year and how things have changed for the program.
Yeah, we were so excited, I think, right out of the jump because, we kind of touched on it earlier. SoundCloud is a platform that empowers artists to kind of tell their stories on their own terms and share their music on their own terms. And Sony provides equipment to make that possible for the artists. And I think even beyond that, we saw the artists really gravitate towards all the products that Sony provided. I know Dave specifically was telling us about the headphones, how great the quality they were, and how she can kind of, she's always traveling and working on music, and being able to, do that in real time with really quality product was really important for her. And as Ross was kind of talking about too, even outside the scope of FOSC, the artists were using those cameras to capture music videos and things that were part of their actual album campaigns and rollouts, even beyond first on SoundCloud, which is really, what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide resources, opportunities, mentorship, like Chris was talking about, for the artists to really be able to take what they learn in the program and run with it, right, and take it to the next level. So I think having Sony involved did just that. It really helped to elevate the program.
Ross wants to add? Yeah.
I do. One of my favorite things about this past year's program was the selected artists. I mean, an incredible group of talent and diversity that you guys selected. I mean, from Nitepunk to DJ Dave to Simone to, Wolfface Joey and Soldier Brett, they're all pushing the envelope when it comes to music, whether that's through the creative process, the types of music, right, mixing and blowing genres out of the water. It's really exciting to see SoundCloud engaging with a group of musicians, artists, and creators who I think are, organically following one of Sony's missions, which is to push the boundaries of audio creation and see where that takes us.
What did it mean to these artists? Talk about the feedback you've got. You can talk about it specifically as you have, but in terms of the Chris's, what has it been like, staying in contact with them, and how has that already helped their careers? What has that satisfaction been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, all of the artists, I think, out of the gate were so excited by the partnership. I know Soja Brat, for example, she was telling us how much the headphones and the microphones meant to her, because she literally has a makeshift studio in her bedroom, in her closet, and is doing the work like Chris Johnson was talking about. So even having the artists at Condo, I think, was really eye-opening for the artists too, to just be around other creatives and learn about visual aspects and the synergies of different creatives and being in the room with them. So I think all the artists out of the gate were just thrown into the deep end to some degree of just being handed these incredible products, but really made the most out of it. And I think you kind of got a taste for that in the documentary too. As Ross mentioned, each of the artists, were gifted the cameras, and we're working on all different types of things throughout the 6 months. Who was dropping an EP, who was touring, who was in the studio, and to be able to capture that in real time, I think, was really effective. And then to have that amplified by Sony and SoundCloud collaboratively, I think, made a huge difference for them.
Lasha, what were those 6 months like? If you can put into words some key moments, special weeks, special days.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the highlights of this program and just the collaboration between SoundCloud and Sony was obviously the camera. We literally shot the entire music video in the studio, me and Yana and Joe, my manager. So pretty much what we did was we shot the music video. Me and her, we were just dancing and just moving around, and then we feed the whole thing into AI and pretty much turn that footage into something very naturey and mountains and everything that I had in mind, and then we were just switching in between with a blending modes, and the music video came out really sick. And then obviously I carried my camera throughout the entire tour. I was touring from September to December pretty much, and I had it with me, and we were capturing some of the biggest shows. One of the shows was me and my friend Imanu. We played in front of 12,000 people, and it was just absolutely crazy. And it was really dope. The mic the Sony gave us is one of the highest quality mics ever. Headphones obviously amazing. So and just working with SoundCloud, and just seeing the amplification of the releases that would usually just do good, but this was just whoa, okay, it was one of the best decisions to go with SoundCloud in that way.
And Chris, put into words over the 6 months what it's like for you watching these artists progress and following every step of the way, what that means to you.
Just the absolute best feeling. Like I said, a lot of work went into selecting these artists. We looked at over 800 artists for this campaign for 5 slots. So I think you've got to put into kind of context of this the work that happens behind the scenes. Chris and I get to sit up here and talk, and Ross, but there's a team of 20, 30 people more and beyond. The engineers of SoundCloud, the people putting in the time on the artwork and stuff. This is a big effort going in. So we saw really impressive stats around like just the basics of what we were doing. Like we released and distributed a song with Nitepunk through SoundCloud called Ending, which very quickly I think hit like number 8 on our electronic chart. So there's moments like that. Honestly, for me, it's like, you can look at the stats and stuff, but being an artist is really hard. Like, for me, like I couldn't do it. That's the reason I work on this side. Being an artist is incredibly hard. You're putting your art out there. So having people in your corner who really get it, like, Joe Lash's manager, he picks up the phone to me for advice and vice versa. And so beyond just the stats and what we're doing on an artist side, creating a bit of like, a cheesy word, but a family, and creating people that you can lean on. And, Sony inviting Nitepunk to be here and some of the things we want to talk about, like it's just really incredible to see a network and support system coming towards for artists, as well as pouring fuel on the fire, hopefully, around their music. So I would like to think our artists came out happy, but at the same time, we've got a lot of work to do. We can always be bigger and better, and we can always do more for artists and for SoundCloud in return and Sony in return. So we're already cooking up plans for this year, which I'll leave to Chris to talk about.
But in that vein, how hard was it when the artists that didn't make it? How much you still probably keep in contact with a lot of those, and you still probably love them just as much, and you want to see them succeed?
Yeah, it's tough because there's only so much you can do with resources. Is the reality of it. Like I would love an untapped bank that I can pull from at all times and 1 million people, but that's not the reality of the world. So there's always artists that you're disappointed from my side that they didn't make it in. But that's where, I don't call myself artist relations. I call myself artist development. And I'm a sucker for sticking to that title because I'm not here just to answer an email and disappear. We are here to hold your hand to a degree and support you and develop those. So we've got artists that we're looking at for this round of First on SoundCloud that were considered last year and that we've helped build up, and they've been featured in our Track of the Day programs, and they've come through the office and played music and got feedback. Like, we act and move like A&Rs, not relations, and that's why I really stick to that title. So there's always an element that you're disappointed for artists, but you try and use it as inspiration and being like, look, you were in the top 20, but just you were missing this one piece. The music didn't quite land. Or, for us, like, we're not a DSP. You're like, we're the only place that you comment straight on the waveform. Like, that's the coolest shit to me as a music fan. Like, you're commenting right on the waveform and seeing the raw product of the artist. So there's always like little bits like that. We're like, okay, like, your music might be really great, but you haven't used SoundCloud, really. Like, you haven't been using it in a social way. So let's get you schooled up on how to use it. Let's build the community. And then there's no reason that you can't land in First on SoundCloud next time. The third part of that, before I get off this little soapbox I'm on, is we're creating more opportunities. We have First on SoundCloud, we have our Ascending campaign, but, Kenya Grace, who just had a UK #1, came through our Ascending, Odatari, Tizo Touchdown. We're building all these steps for artists at various stages, so that it's not just major label signed artists and then your very first, your first song. We're trying to build a ladder all the way up. So, like I said before, there's a lot more work to do, as me and Chris know quite painfully. But the work is really, really fun to do with these artists.
I can tell it's great, and you guys are so excited about every step of it, and that makes it fun for everybody. And Chris, talk about the artists that did well in this before Sony got involved, and how much of them like, hey, wait, Sony's involved now. I wish I was part of that, and keeping track of them and still fostering their careers, because I'm sure they've all done well because of the First on SoundCloud program.
You're talking about artists that were just part of the program?
Not before this past year.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, one of the biggest things that we're actually kind of working on right now is building out our alumni network as part of First on SoundCloud, and even Ascending, like Chris Johnson was kind of talking about, because our commitment to the artists go well beyond just the 6 months that they're part of the program, right? We want to continue to provide resources and be there to support, their future releases as well. Which is why even having like an event like this, even though technically the campaign's over, and to have Nitepunk, speaking on this panel, we want to continue to provide those opportunities. So we're cooking up a few different things that I think will be part of this year's program, as well as future programs that just allow us to kind of call back to those artists and to keep supporting them. I know Chris also mentioned our Track of the Week program, and we just had Soja Brat, who we saw in the introduction earlier, and she was an artist that was just part of that program as well. So yeah, we're definitely committed to these artists beyond just the 6 months for sure.
Now, SoundCloud remains innovative. You wouldn't still be at the cutting edge of all this if you guys weren't doing new things and changing every year. So let's talk about this next year. You've alluded to a few things. What are you most excited about with this program moving forward, and what can you let us know about further partnership with Sony?
Yeah, we're really, really excited. I think, as Chris kind of mentioned earlier, First on SoundCloud has been, a program that launched in 2018 and continues to grow and evolve and change year over year. We really want to continue to hone in and focus on the mentorship aspect. We want to provide, guest speakers and things of that nature for the artists to kind of learn from, just outside of just the SoundCloud camp. And in terms of artist support and artist development, we definitely want to lean into some of the more A&R spaces, like Chris Johnson was kind of alluding to as well, and kind of being a sounding board and ear, and provide resources for those artists to kind of go in and to create music and have a part in that. But I would say, keep your eyes peeled for the late spring, early summer of this year for more information around FOSC.
What kind of questions do you get from artists about what they can do with SoundCloud? How hands-on are you? What's your team like? If you can talk about, I'm sure you have workshops for that kind of thing when artists don't know what to do, but they do come to you.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of what our role is in that, is education in a sense. So we have a lot of artists through. We have our offices in Berlin, New York, London, and LA, and we spend most of our time meeting and talking to artists, as we should in this lane. So there's element where there's the basic best practices. I always say, SoundCloud is a sandbox to a degree. You can treat it exactly how you want to treat it. You can go fully in depth and go absolutely ham on SoundCloud and drop teasers every day and be talking to fans, or you can do something a bit more. I've seen artists, I'm not going to reveal who it is so I don't give away their secret SoundCloud page, but there's a lot of very big AAA superstar artists who have ghost SoundCloud pages where they drop demos, and then SZA is a perfect example of that. SZA twisted the arm of old Top Dog Entertainment by using SoundCloud in a sense. And there's very, very big R&B artists right now who are dropping demos for 24 hours and then taking them down and being like, you missed it, sorry. I'll give a perfect example. Back in the day when I was working with Deadmau5, he used SoundCloud purely as a sound box, and that's how we build our albums, around Deadmau5. Deadmau5 would upload a teaser every 2 to 3 days or a full track. We were smart. We were looking at SoundCloud comments, we were looking at SoundCloud stats, and we used that to take the album. So we'd be like, right, Deadmau5, you've dropped 50 songs in this year period. These 15 are performing really well. Mouse would tell us what he liked and didn't like, because that's the artist, right? And then we would go and try and find some good vocalists. We'd go and find some good remixes for him to work with. It's a sandbox tool. Use it, And that's the best advice I can give in that sense. It really is there for you to engage with and read your community with, and not every artist wants to do that, and that's okay as well. So just use it however you're best comfortable, and then we're there to kind of nudge you along the line and give you a bit more confidence as to when you're doing that.
Now, Nitepunk, how are you balancing doing that kind of stuff today with doing your shows for 12,000 plus and being out there live, but you still know SoundCloud's someone you come back to kind of balance those two worlds?
Yeah, I love checking it out every day. The best thing is people commenting on it, and sometimes I always tend to have little Easter eggs in my songs. I'll sample some of the biggest record, and still I have it in my song. And then I love people finding it out, or for example, I love people pointing out a really cool and creative decision I've made that excites me in the first place, but then somebody really noticing it and be like, yo, that was really cool. It's beyond the focus point of the song, but somebody heard it. So just knowing that there are people, there are not just numbers on Spotify or this or that, and they're you see the actual kind of personality behind them. And then mostly comments are oh my God, Jesus Christ, but yeah, it definitely feels like community. And I see some of the people commenting since 2016 and 15, and these people are still there and still passionately expressing their opinion about the song and everything. And really SoundCloud is the place to really create dig and find some of the coolest edits, some of the coolest things that are simply not allowed on actual DSPs. So that is absolutely a gold mine, And Yeah, I mean, SoundCloud's not going anywhere in my life, no matter how big I am and how big I get. It's always going to be my go-to. And yeah, shout out everybody on SoundCloud who's still there and listening to dope music.
Very cool. And Ross, you mentioned all the other products that Sony was able to contribute to this program. But beyond that, just the satisfaction, knowing they're using that stuff, but knowing they're looking to Sony also as kind of the premier resource for that kind of stuff, and seeing what's been created must be exciting because you've really helped their careers.
Absolutely. Being able to connect on the ground with a group of artists that were, participating in this past year's program was pretty incredible. And as I said, all of the artists, Nitepunk, Soulja Brad, Wolfface, Joey Simone, DJ Dave, are all pushing the boundaries in music. And what Sony likes to do is push the boundaries in music and audio technology. So working with these individuals, so watching them push the boundaries of creativity and being able to provide them with the tools that's going to help them do that, perhaps make it easier, perhaps open up a whole new, creative sandbox for them to be able to play in, whether that's through immersive audio, imaging technology, headphones, microphones, etc. I mean, it was quite the experience, and the feedback has been fantastic just to hear from the artists themselves, and the value that they got out of the experience. I mean, I think it means that we are on the right track, and just also to Chris's point earlier about how SoundCloud is, it's not focused on any one specific type of artist or based on the success of an artist. We view it the same way. We're a company that makes audio products for all creators of all levels. No matter what stage in your career you are, no matter whether you are booking professional recording sessions for a major label or cutting hip hop and R&B records out of your bedroom. These products and this technology is for everyone, and so we just want to make sure it's available to get into the hands of those that are going to use it and push it, and then I think show us what can really be done with it.
Very cool. Look, I'm more than convinced that's true in terms of the spectrum of artists, just by everything you've talked about. Just talk about just the wide spectrum of artists, like how specific it gets. And you're looking at tuba players in Des Moines and acoustic guitar players in Nova Scotia. Like, talk about the breadth of people that are putting stuff on SoundCloud and how that excites you and how those kind of people can end up being part of a program like this.
Yeah, again, I go back to that idea that SoundCloud is like that first place people start, and that it's not, we work quite hard at not pigeonholing it stuff. Like, I mean, the obvious, everyone knows we're mostly known for like hip hop of the SoundCloud rap days and the electronic music, but I think Lasha said, go crate digging on SoundCloud, and I guarantee you find all types of music. You're going to find Japanese psychedelic folk all the way to a perfect artist. There's an artist called Thatcher Blackwood. I tell everyone here to go and listen to Thatcher Blackwood. He's a 17-year-old artist from up in Nova Scotia somewhere, which is funny, you said it. He's making just incredible kind of acoustic James Blake electronic-y music, and he's purely experimenting. He's 17 years old. He's not trying to package this up and just be like, I'm moving a product. He's experimenting. Check out another artist called Marluxium. She's a 17-year-old female artist, and she's just making some of the best hyperpop stuff. She drops music every single day across 3 different profiles. Like, she's just experimenting and making music and finding herself and not trying to pigeonhole her into a box of being like, I have to drop this single here and then wait 6 weeks and drop this single. Forget that. Like that, we've been brainwashed by some parts of the industry to think in these boxes. Like, use this as a sound box. So like, I crate dig all the time. I go crate digging vinyl. I go crate digging on SoundCloud, and being able to find artists who have found their small communities themselves and enjoying having those communities. I could name artists all day. I'll stop because I'm mic hogging, but I just love seeing that, and that's really it's why I'm at SoundCloud, and I think most of the people at SoundCloud, we could be at easier places to work, trust me. But we're not. We love the passion of here, and SoundCloud moves in that space. And one thing I do want to say, just in relation to the Sony stuff, is it was natural. Throughout my career, I've done partnerships in management where you're taking the bag, you're taking the check. That $1 million check looks great, and you're promoting something that might not be naturally you. All of these artists, they came up on SoundCloud, but they came up on Sony in the same way. they have been using Sony products from day one, most likely, like we all have if we look in music, so or around music, sorry. So it was a really natural partnership, which then added to the excitement for the artists. I remember first telling Nitepunk's team that Sony were involved. That was an amazing moment that we can bring as part of that. So I just wanted to double down that. It was a really great natural partnership, and it wasn't forced.
Well, I used to always receive CDs from labels and publicists and artists themselves, and that was my, the fun for me for years and years, and then that turned into different links. And now, more often than not, it's SoundCloud links I get from new artists that don't have representation, or from the biggest labels, or from managers, and I get to hear albums ahead of time, maybe in early forms through SoundCloud, and I get excited every time I get a SoundCloud link. That's always a blast, popping through those files. It's a big part of what I do, so it's always been a big part of my career and my enjoyment in discovering new music, so that's very cool. Has there been any talk of and you tell me this may have already happened, but a future a SoundCloud festival with some of these new artists get to perform for the masses, or even a small scale or a big scale?
Stay tuned. Oh god, I sound like I'm doing my press run. This is the Justin Timberlake album press run right here. Yes is the short answer. We're developing ideas on it. Obviously, again, like I've worked live shows a lot for my days of touring. It's a very big commitment. So we're looking at ways to do that already. A great example is we've launched a Sunday residency in Ibiza. So every Sunday, we're going to be doing, I nearly said Sunday Scaries there. That's not it. That's SoundCloud Sundays. We're doing a show headed up by Casso, who's an artist who broke on SoundCloud out of the UK last year, went #2 in the charts and signed to Sony as a result of it. And we're aiming to put on artists who are in that kind of circle of dance music throughout the year, so that they get an opportunity to come up through these programs, but then go and play with a really great DJ and get some experience doing it. So it's an area we've got a lot of growth to do in. We do it on a small scale in the sense we have artists come through and we do like listen back sessions where we get a good setup for them, get a barbecue going and listen to their album. But we want to continue expanding that. So, a long way of saying stay tuned.
Very exciting. And before we wrap this up and take any questions from you guys, Chris, if you can just speak directly to either artists that may be watching on live streams or their representatives as to what they can do to get involved if they haven't yet either used SoundCloud at all, or if they want to be part of this program.
Upload. Upload your music. Share your music. I think seems to be like the reoccurring theme or line across like all these artists that we work with. Just throw it up, see how people react to it, build your base. It all has to start somewhere. Why not have it start on SoundCloud, right?
Nice. And Lasha, what's next for Nitepunk? For your fans, for new fans, what do you want them to know about this next year? What do you have going on?
Next year, this year I've been writing probably more music than I ever have. I've been very inspired. So, I don't know, I feel like the music really dictates how I want to move things, but I would say I've been writing the best music of my life, and we have some of the really interesting and super exciting moments planned throughout the year, and just right now I'm writing for music for 2024, 2025 even, so I've never been more excited, so yeah.
Very cool. Looking forward. Well, listen, you guys are all great. This has been very exciting. Anyone have any questions for this panel about SoundCloud, about the program, anything for Nitepunk?
I just want to get this clip for the socials. You said you were writing your SoundCloud link on pizza boxes while you were delivering pizza?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Just need that for Instagram.
So pretty much it was also like a crepes place too. So I used to pretty much I can elaborate on the whole story because that place was where I used to wash dishes and then bake crepes and then deliver them also. And then that was my first year of being in States, and it was 2015. 6 months in, I was in New York. And one beautiful evening, I fell so hard, I broke both hands, and that just adds to the story. And And then, so I posted. No, I was writing those links on those boxes, and then somebody posted on Twitter. It was like, I don't know exactly what they said, but they like took a picture of that box, and they were like, the next level shameless promotion or whatever. And I have that screenshot. If this guy didn't post it, I would not have the screenshot. So like now I have it.
I need that screenshot for our story. You got to do a collab with that with that shop. Just like drop, some food
Oh,
item.
they're done.
There we go. Amazing. Appreciate it.
Nice. Anyone else have anything? Well, thank you did you have, no. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming and listening to this great group. SoundCloud and Sony had a great partnership, and more to come.